So Spider-Boy turned out to be a lot more successful than Marvel actually thought was possible, so they decided to do something crazy. Make a bunch of variant covers depicting apprentices/sidekicks, and there were around 22 in total. Some were actually pretty good and interesting, others just felt really phoned in. And one was drawn by Peach Momoko, who would later bring her into the Ultimate Universe where she's a major character. Of course, they would get their own book titled New Champions. But I can't actually go into the New Champions book because we have to deal with backstory. We start out with Spider-Woman, Volume 8, Issue 5. In the aftermath of the storyline Gang War from the awful Zeb Wells Spider-Man run, Jessica Drew isn't particularly feeling well. Having discovered her son has been aged up and turned into a supervillain, well, that's going to knock the wind out of anyone's sails. Spider-Boy is pretty sympathetic since Jerry was both erased from everyone's memory and taken away, something he was dealing with at the time of the book's release. And Jessica begins her hunt for her child's, well, mutator, I guess. So that leads her to Hydra's tail. She eventually runs into the Assembly. This naturally confuses Jessica. And thanks to some brainwashing mishaps, we learn that Hydra kidnapped these children and implanted them with false memories after aging them up. After freeing them of their conditioning, they are a bit confused as to what they should even be doing with their lives now. But Jessica pulls a few strings. She gets Nick Fury on the line, and using S.H.I.E.L.D.'s espionage database, they can either find foster homes or actual homes. This is where we start off the actual story. We open with the New Champions defeating a pair of villains called the Brothers Grimm. We do get lip service from them about what did happen in the Spider-Woman book, and there is a part of the issue dedicated to their backstory, but some of them have their families back as their status quo. One, Rooney, is actually an orphan, so she's trying to find her actual family. She just ends up pulling her and her friends into an undead Viking fight. And she also pulls in a bunch of other characters, such as this Ghost Rider roller derby Hatsune Miku type Phantasma, and of course Spider-Boy, and of course the other new champions from the variant cover because we have a quota to fill. Issue 2 is pretty much a continuation of Issue 1 in that regard, just introduce a bunch of characters. Lots and lots and lots of characters. Hellrune, or just Rooney, stops eventually, and we even get more characters, because why not? In a bit of a meta twist, this does end with everyone not joining all at once. Well, we do have others with more reason to not be there, such as being actual antagonists. Issue 3 is basically another fight scene between the new champions and the champions, probably addressing the fact that the name champions is already taken. Okay, there's more to it than that. They do have their small character moments, like how Monty and Manetix, I think that's what her name is pronounced, steal from the Psycho Man in order to cause everyone to go full psycho on each other. Eventually, it all works out. Okay, next issue, Issue 4, we see Gold Tiger again, and she gets the Sons of Serpent sicked on her. She does eventually get bailed out by the other new champions. Well, the Sons of Serpent do get away eventually by a simple smoke grenade. Phantasma here is 100% done with their nonsense by basically saying, okay, we're a team, but we don't trust each other, we don't know each other. So naturally, they use Liberty's Basement as group therapy/Alcoholics Anonymous. So we get Gold Tiger's backstory. Her parents were Wakandan scientists who were sent out in order to discover whether there's vibranium elsewhere in the world and of what nature, which makes sense. In Cambodia, they discover gold vibranium, and that gold vibranium was putting them in the crosshairs of other treasure hunters. Eventually, it all falls apart. That's because magic, somehow, the gold vibranium becomes Gold Tiger's magical touch. This led her to being isolated because, she's now the golden child. Get it? Get it? We also learn that whatever thing she touches can turn into gold vibranium, but that golden touch ends up being temporary only. Which, well, that makes sure it can't be broken as a power because of the Midas touch effect. Then they kicked the Sons of Serpent's collective butts. If I felt like I sped through that entire comic, it's because only 4 issues of it are out, and the other issue I have with it, besides the 4 I already have, is that it's really dull. These 4 comics are hard to come up with much snark, mainly because I found these comics boring as paint. It's very much going through the motions. I can't say much about that, other than comment about how some characters I found visually entertaining, like Phantasma, because Roller Derby Ghost Rider sounds like something that should not work, but it actually works very well on a visual level. I feel like the first 4 issues of this book really should have been the first true arc. The backstory told in Spider-Woman should have been the first arc right here, albeit with the kids as the actual focus of it all. Honestly, they should have taken a page from Future Avengers and do this instead. Their backstories aren't too similar with the whole Hydra screwing them up thing, and the Future Avengers already exist in the comics universe, so they might as well be used because they're just sitting there on the side. It honestly feels like we're getting character after character to fill a quota rather than getting anything of actual substance for these characters. And when we do get something of actual substance to these characters, it gets heavily undercut by the constant need to cram in more characters. It's like reading Bendis' Legion of Superheroes, except this is just boring rather than character assassination for everyone with a name. That's not even getting into the other main issue I have with this. 616 is bloated with characters already. On the DC end of things, you have a lot of people holding the mantle of the Flash, and a heck of a lot of people holding the mantle of Green Lantern, specifically Green Lantern of Earth. It honestly becomes exhausting when you have so many legacy characters in an established continuity. Maystorm gets to dodge this issue mainly because she has a role in Ultimate X-Men. Really, I feel like the fact that she has a role there might actually shield her from the issue of the comic book limbo. My biggest fear for these characters is that they'll end up in the dreaded comic book limbo. Essentially, after they run their course, there's nothing Marvel will actually do for them, so they'll just end up collapsing into the background and fading into complete obscurity. That is, unless Marvel has another event where they become C-list fodder, because of course they would, or they just end up being left on the sidelines until a writer wants to bring them back for character assassination, because we also know that happens in comic books. Because as this book stands, I am really not a fan of any given character here. Sure, they're all nice, I guess, but they don't exactly strike me as iconic or working well as part of a team or given a distinct personality within the team. Except, again, Phantasma. Perhaps watching Soy Luna all those years ago in order to pass the AP Spanish exam was what caused me to actually enjoy roller skating, if not out of Stockholm Syndrome, because skating does play a big role in that show. Well, those are just my thoughts. Please consider liking, subscribing, tipping the channel on Ko-fi. This is Cyril signing off.